The Prisoner and the General, Aung San Suu Kyi's Longest Night, Part 1, 5 Years in the Shadows. For more than 5 years, the world has wondered about the fate of Aung San Suu Kyi, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, the icon of nonviolent resistance. The woman who once stood as hope for an entire nation has been invisible, silent, trapped. Now, state media has broken that silence. Myanmar's former leader has been under house arrest, not in a cell, not in a courtroom, but in a place the military regime refuses to name, in the capital city of Naypyidaw, where she waits out her days on a wooden bench, flanked by uniformed staff. The image itself is haunting. The same woman who once addressed thousands of supporters from behind the gates of her lakeside villa now sits in captivity, her face weathered by years of isolation and declining health. Part 2. The General's Order. The man who ordered her imprisonment is General Min Aung Hlaing. In February 2021, he led the military coup that overthrew Suu Kyi's democratically elected government. He arrested her, he dismantled her party, and he seized absolute power. On Sunday, General Min Aung Hlaing issued a statement that appeared to offer a gesture of mercy. He announced that Suu Kyi's sentence would be reduced as part of a wider amnesty for prisoners, granted on the occasion of a religious holiday. State media reported that 199 prisoners received amnesty. 11 foreigners were also pardoned. But for Suu Kyi, the reduction was far more symbolic than substantial. She had been sentenced to 33 years in prison, a term designed to ensure she would never walk free again. The charges, announced in late 2022, were widely condemned as fabricated. They ranged from corruption to violating COVID-19 protocols, from illegal possession of walkie-talkies to sedition. Each charge was carefully crafted to tarnish her reputation and prevent her from ever returning to legitimate power. Now, according to a sentencing hearing on Thursday, April 30th, her sentence has been reduced from 33 years to just 13 years, for an 80-year-old woman in failing health. Part 3. A meaningful step or a publicity stunt? The international community reacted with cautious optimism. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, referred to as Ban Ki-moon in your source, an error, Ban Ki-moon was Secretary-General from 2007 to 2016, issued a statement through his spokesman, Stephane Dujarric. The decision to place Suu Kyi under house arrest, Dujarric said, was a meaningful step towards a credible political process. He reiterated the UN's call for the release of all political prisoners in Myanmar, but the wording was careful. We welcome the move, Dujarric said, as a step towards conditions conducive to a credible political process. Not freedom, not justice, a step. Suu Kyi's legal team was less diplomatic. It is good to hear that there is house arrest, a team member told Reuters, but we have not received any direct information. We only know through press releases. After more than 5 years, the woman they are paid to defend remains beyond their reach. Her lawyers have not been allowed to meet with her in person since December 2022. Part 4. The President Who Wasn't Elected. The timing of the amnesty was not accidental. 2 weeks earlier, on April 17th, the regime had already granted amnesty to 4,500 prisoners. Those releases came just days after Min Aung Hlaing took office as president on April 10th, in an election widely condemned as unfair, rigged, and designed to maintain the military's grip on power. In his inauguration speech, the general-turned-president spoke of social justice and peace. He promised amnesties. He spoke of reconciliation. But the world saw the truth. A military commander who seized power by force now calls himself president. An election that no credible observer certified now legitimizes his rule. And a Nobel laureate, once the voice of her people, now sits in an undisclosed location, reduced from 33 years to 13. Part 5. The Toll of 5 Years. Suu Kyi is now 80 years old. Information about her condition has been tightly controlled. The regime releases nothing without purpose. But reports from 2024 and 2025 painted a grim picture. Declining health, low blood pressure, dizziness, heart problems. None of these claims have been independently verified. Her legal team cannot see her. Her family cannot visit her. The world must rely on the word of her captors. Kim Aris, her youngest son, who currently lives in Yangon, issued a desperate plea after hearing the news of her transfer. His words were raw, the words of a man who has not seen his mother in years. "If she is alive, please show proof of her life," he said in a statement posted on Facebook. He made his position clear. Transferring his mother from prison to a secret location is not freedom, it is hostage-taking. It still completely cuts her off from the world, under the absolute control of the occupying forces. The gesture, Aris continued, is designed to reduce international pressure and create a sense of change while the reality in the country is harsh and unchangeable. He called for her full release, not house arrest, not reclusion, freedom. Part 6. The Bloody Civil War. The military's rise to power in 2021 did not bring stability, it brought fire. A massive public uprising erupted immediately after the coup. Millions took to the streets. They were met with bullets, tanks, and a brutality that shocked even hardened observers. The military suppressed the protests with savage force, sparking a bloody civil war that has now raged for 4 years. According to the Aid for Political Prisoners, a human rights watchdog, more than 47,000 people have been detained since the military took power. Thousands have been killed. The true death toll, as with so much in Myanmar, remains unknown. The country is now fractured. The military controls the cities. Resistance forces control the countryside. Ethnic armies fight for territory. And millions of ordinary people are caught in the crossfire. Part 7. A Prisoner's Memory. Sean Turnell, referred to as Cian Thule in your source, a former economic advisor to Aung San Suu Kyi, knows what her captivity looks like from the inside. Turnell, an Australian economist, was detained along with Suu Kyi after the 2021 coup. He spent a year in the same prison complex as the Nobel laureate. He remembers the living conditions, very poor. The food, barely edible. The prison cells, open to the air, exposed to the elements. "She is 80 years old," Turnell said. "I am afraid to let her live there." Despite her age, despite her frailty, despite everything the military has done to break her, Turnell insists that Suu Kyi remains the most popular person in Myanmar. Her decades-long struggle for dignity and nonviolence won her admirers across Burma and around the world. Her heartfelt speeches to supporters, delivered from behind the gates of her home during her previous imprisonments, became legendary. She won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1991 while still under house arrest. She could not attend the ceremony. She could not give a speech. Her sons accepted the award on her behalf, reading words their mother had written in captivity. The world wept then. It should weep now. Part 8. APR stunt or a real change? Not everyone is convinced by the regime's gesture. Rights group Campaign for a Free Myanmar, referred to as Camp K in your source, dismissed the transfer as a public relations stunt. Ma the director of the group's military campaign, was blunt. "This is not a real transfer," Ma said. "It is not a reduction of oppression. It is a public relations stunt to maintain the rule of the military regime. No one should be fooled." The assessment is harsh but difficult to dispute. The regime is under immense pressure. International sanctions have crippled the economy. The civil war has drained military resources. And the world's attention, briefly distracted by other crises, is slowly turning back to Myanmar. By moving Suu Kyi from prison to house arrest, the regime can claim progress. It can point to the amnesty as evidence of mercy. It can tell the United Nations that it is moving toward conditions conducive to a credible political process. But nothing has changed. Suu Kyi is still a prisoner, still cut off from the world, still under the absolute control of the generals who stole her country. Part 9. The Three Crises of Myanmar. To understand why Suu Kyi's captivity matters, one must understand the catastrophe unfolding beyond her prison walls. Myanmar is a country in crisis, 3 crises actually, all happening at once. The political crisis. Since independence, Myanmar has been trapped in a cycle of military rule and democratic aspiration. The 2021 coup was not the first. It was the latest in a long line of military interventions that have crushed civilian governments, dissolved parliaments, and silenced dissent. The Civil War. Resistance forces have taken up arms against the military. Ethnic armies have joined a fight. The country is now fragmented, with front lines shifting daily. Villages are burned, civilians are executed, children are recruited as soldiers. The economic and humanitarian crisis. Millions of people face hunger and food insecurity. The war has disrupted farming. Economic sanctions have choked trade. Natural disasters, cyclones, floods, earthquakes have compounded the suffering. More than 7 million people are now displaced. Thousands are homeless. Hundreds of thousands have fled across borders into Thailand, India, and Bangladesh. Part 10. The Woman Who Would Not Break Through. Aung San Suu Kyi has remained a symbol. During her previous imprisonments, nearly 15 years spent under house arrest between 1989 and 2010, she never wavered. She refused offers of exile. She rejected deals that would have freed her in exchange for silence. She stayed in Myanmar, in her country, with her people. Her strong stance against military rule inspired a generation. Her commitment to nonviolence, even when violence was used against her, earned her admiration across the world. But that was then. Now she is 80. Her health is failing. Her legal team cannot reach her. Her son cannot confirm she is alive. Sean Turnell, the former advisor who shared her captivity, hopes for one thing: that one day she will be released and given full freedom. She remains the most popular person in Burma, Turnell said. Despite everything, despite the years, despite the charges, the people have not forgotten her. Part 11. The Son's Plea. Kim Aris, Suu Kyi's youngest son, has become her most vocal advocate. From his home in Yangon, he watches helplessly as his mother's captors control every piece of information about her condition. "My request is simple," he said. "Show proof that my mother is alive. Allow me to communicate with her. I want to see my mother free." He rejected the regime's narrative entirely. "Transferring my mother from prison to a secret location is not freedom. It is hostage-taking. It still completely cuts her off from the world under the absolute control of the occupying forces." The gesture, he said, is designed to reduce international pressure and create a sense of change, but the reality in the country is harsh and unchangeable. Part 12. The Unanswered Question. As of today, Aung San Suu Kyi remains in an undisclosed location. Her son's plea for proof of life has not been answered. Her legal team has not been granted access. The United Nations has welcomed her transfer to house arrest as a step, but has not demanded her release. The military regime continues to control every aspect of her existence: what she eats, where she sleeps, whether she receives medical care, whether her family knows she is alive. The question that haunts Myanmar, that haunts the world, remains unanswered. Will Aung San Suu Kyi ever walk free again? And if she does, will there be anything left of the woman who once stood as a beacon of hope for a nation?